And the idea is just, man, it's waking up and saying, man, I can't be complacent today. It's getting some serious discipline in your life that is not just goal oriented or success oriented. It's like, no, it's your spiritual life, it's your mental life, it's your physical life, and then it's your work life, the things that you're pursuing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Journey Podcast. We're so grateful that you're able to join us today. I got my brother Jonathan with us today. Jonathan, what's up, my man?
What up? What up?
Hey, man, what you been up to? Living it up in New York.
Yeah, it's nice to be on my brother's podcast. He's a famous podcaster now. It's
I don't,
crazy.
I don't know about that one. Got my monthly listeners listening to you, bro. Everybody's trying to figure out, man, what is Jonathan Manning up to nowadays?
Yeah, yeah. Everybody out there. Yeah. Well, hi everybody and all of our subscribers out there. I'm just glad you're tuning in today to listen to me talk to
You're
you
so
on
terrible.
how you should live your life. You know what I
So
mean?
dumb.
Okay, number one. No, I'm joking. No, I'm up in New York now, man. So obviously, you and the family know that, and a lot of our friends, down in Florida know that. But yeah, but this past the year, me and Steph, we moved up here, and yeah, we're living right next to Central Park, so it's not a bad life. We're enjoying it. It's Christmas season here, so we watched the Rockefeller tree light up the other day, and yeah, a bunch of stuff. So it's been
Nice.
fun. It's been nice.
Nice. And so
Yeah.
now you're up in New York. What are you doing now in New York?
Yeah, so I was when I was in Florida, I was working with a Christian nonprofit called First Priority, and then I was working, for several years as a youth pastor and youth minister with the Wilkersons down at Trinity Church, and so yeah, we kind of got to a place where we kind of I always had a lot of aspirations. I always had this aspiration really to pursue. I always had an artistic side of myself that I don't feel like I ever really let loose and went after. So this was kind of a year that we decided to move up. I'm pursuing going after comedy and acting as a full time career right now, and yeah, it's been really good. I've only been about a year into it. It's been humbling for sure. Uh, yeah, there's nothing like doing 5 free shows. I mean, not being paid. Getting like $20 for your paycheck for a gig. Very humbling. Very humbling. The acting's been better though. The acting's been better. They're coming off strike, but yeah, this was kind of our year. It was one of those years you kind of get to in life. Obviously, everybody's coming out of COVID. Everyone's reevaluating things in life. This was an ambition, not just an ambition. I felt like it was something that I've always been. I feel like God put on my heart like a long time ago, even in high school and early years, and I never really pursued it.
Hmm.
I never really took the chance to really. And I think obviously, anyone who's an artist, I think that is out there. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of like, um, you know, what will people think? You go through that entire process, and then as well, just to I really believe that God gives each and every one of us gifts, and if we don't pursue those things and we don't we're not using the talents God's gifted us with and not pursuing the things he's put on our heart. I sometimes am worried that I'm not using everything God has God's gifted me with. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? So yeah, this was something that was on my heart. It was for many, it might have seemed like a very quick move, but it was something that uh, I've been fasting, praying about. You know what I mean? Had it on our hearts for a while. Me and my wife, we've been talking about it, and honestly, God opened the door. We landed with another nonprofit that we're able to work with up here in New York. My wife, she owns and runs preschools still in Florida, so we're still back and forth quite a bit, but um, we've been loving our time here. It's been a great time,
And that
great season.
and that's always kind of like why I wanted to talk about some things that you go through and everything, because ever since you were kind of younger, you've always been doing multiple things at once. And some people might look at you a little crazy, but then others is like, others look at you and you're like, man, like the fact that you can do multiple things at once is pretty impressive, at least to me. I've always kind of admired that about you, about how you can, have, your, even when you were here in Florida, have your main job, be successful at that, but then have different avenues that really have helped you kind of spark other passions within you. Like even when, maybe you can talk about that, but maybe tell us a little bit about what has always sparked you to do multiple things at once and how do you handle that? So like tell us a little bit about like maybe when you were here, you started doing a lot of different things, maybe different avenues of income that as well helped you. What made you have a desire for that?
Yeah, I'll tell you what made me had a well, I mean, I'll tell you what made me had a desire. I was broke. That's what it was. No,
That's
I
funny.
mean, I love, God, I love the ministry, and I love, and it is one of the most, I think, one of the most rewarding career paths and things that you can do. Get If just being in the ministry, giving back, and as well just doing it all. It's amazing. But I will say, uh, the money can be a little tight sometimes. The money can be a little tight. You're really putting the chips, and you're like, God, you know what I mean? My mansion better be big. Okay, when I get to heaven, it better be massive. I'm doing this as a full time career. This better be good. I remember growing up as a missionary kid. I used to like haggle my friends for $1, like for $1 just to go get a dollar burger. You know what I mean? I was like, I would just keep racking up a tab with my friends because they would get allowance money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We just never had an allowance with our household. Like the chores were the chores. You had to go mow the lawn. That was your chore. Like, do we get any reward for this? No. There's no dad's commentary on having rewards. You get to live in this household. You get to eat. You know what I mean? I'm like, thank you. Time I think I had a bedroom in the basement too. Okay, I
You
was
did have
isolated from the room,
you did have a bedroom in the basement.
isolated from the rest of the family.
You did have a
You know what
bedroom
I
in the
mean?
basement.
No. On a serious note, I go back. I think there was this sermon that I was in, and it was talking about Abraham and how Abraham uh, had seven flows and seven streams of income. And I went to Southeastern University and went in my international. I was in for my undergrad was an international business undergrad. So we had some really interesting profs that I thought were, I mean, just great professors. Dr. Bolin was one of them. He ran, he really taught. He kind of said he taught as more. That was his ministry.
Hmm.
He had several side businesses. A big investor. He ran a book company that it eventually got bought out by Amazon because it was right when Amazon was starting up and his book company was starting up, and so Amazon actually bought him out. From my understanding, um, and that was just always a concept in those classes of, again, it gets going back to the gift mix of what the talents that God has given you, right? And I remember being in a cohort class with Alan Hirsch, and he's a missiologist, and I kind of asked him, almost kind of this life question. I have so many ambitions
Mm-hmm.
that I would love to do. There's so many thoughts. Obviously, I have this ambition for being my entrepreneurial side. You know, but I said I love the ministry. I love God. I love being in full time ministry. But at the same time, like I have these other passions, these big artistic passions that have been in my life for a while. And I said, how do you choose which one to go after? And he kind of looked at me and he says, "What makes you think God doesn't want you to pursue and be successful in all of those?" And I was like, "Well, what do you mean?" He's like, "Well, it might not be accomplished right every single one in in this exact period in your time." But he was like, he was like, "You have a whole life to live, and you're probably going to face and going to go through different seasons where you might be able to pursue and actively have those things a part of your life." Um, and I just believe that, obviously there's going to be always be a main career. There's going to be a main path that, financially that you start to go on. And, even those that are even called to full-time ministry, there's a calling to that. There
Mm-hmm.
is that you're called to full-time ministry, pastoral ministry specifically. There's a specific calling for that. Absolutely. But even in that, you see some great pastors that I was listening to well, what's his name over in LA? Oh my gosh. What's the pastor's name in LA?
Which one?
Erwin McManus.
Oh, okay.
So I was listening to Erwin McManus, and it's just interesting, uh, what I admire. One of the things I admire so much about Erwin McManus is just his he has no lack and no fear about of going after and starting. He's created their own clothing brand. He's a writer. On top of that, a massive TED Talk speaker. You know, he's written for movies, and at the same time, he's a very well known, very successful, and a very strong pastor and
Mm-hmm.
a very strong believer. And so I guess where I'm getting to this is, I just I don't want to ever get to a place in my life where I feel like I'm limiting myself.
Mm-hmm.
Where now I'm stuck. Not saying I'm stuck, but like, okay, I have this 9 to 5 job, and then I just get into this repetition of like, all right, this is all I got, this is all I'm doing, blah blah blah. Where I think there's a side of me where I'm just like, man, if God's given me these gifts, if He's put it on my heart, and obviously you want to pray. It's not just like just go do something.
Mm-hmm.
You want to pray, you want to fast, you want to lift these things up to the Lord. But at the same time, if God is putting things on your heart, there's the other side of it. It's like there has to be for a reason. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Um, some things that like a little bit of like what my journey, my path was. Like I said, came out, did my undergrad and masters, um, and did my undergrad in international business. So there was already that entrepreneurial side kind of building up in me. And then I did my master's in theology. Went right into full time ministry. I was working at Christian Life Center at the church there. Then transitioned over to First Priority and was working with them uh, till literally about a year ago, full time. And while I was in Miami, was youth pastor and helping out at Trinity Church, and was doing ministry with them. And so so during that season of really going after the ministry, there's that ministry side, but then there was as well this entrepreneurial side. I really on the side started doing a lot of real estate,
Mm-hmm.
and I did everything on real estate. I was, I interned with commercial agency Marcus and Millichap. Then I went in and was with Remax for several years. Then when we transitioned down to Miami, went to a private brokerage, started doing a lot of fix and flips. So not just selling real estate, started doing a lot of fix and flips. And then it was kind of like, again, like the tool belt. You just keep learning more different things. You kind of you start getting your feet wet, and you start understanding how how real estate works. The more fix and flips you started to do, and you understand how how to work with contractors, how to work with subs, pricing and all that kind of stuff like that. So I was actively doing all those things, um, doing it alongside ministry. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And honestly, that helped me supplement being able to live down there. That helped me supplement my ministry income.
Yeah, South Florida is
And
not cheap.
yeah, no, no, no. So it really did. It was a real big blessing. It really, at the same time, I had to realize, okay, hey, these were real life skills that you got to think everybody in their life is going to rent. They're going to buy something eventually. They're going to go. You got have to have some type of situation understanding credit. You know what I mean? How does lending work?
Hmm.
What are banks looking for? These are all real life things that everyone talks about, like, oh, they're entrepreneurial. No, these are real life things everyone has to go through, and it's surprising. You come out of college and you have no clue,
Yeah.
even how to really read a balance sheet. You don't
Yeah.
even realize, you're like, okay, you don't even know. You have some great ideas, but then that led us so further on. Then that led when I got married and me and Steph. Um, it was always a big desire on her heart, and we got married. She always wanted to own her own business. And so, alongside the real estate at that time, alongside the real estate, and then me working in full time ministry, I told her, she's like, we had just this, we didn't have any kids or anything like that, so we were saying, okay, like, let's start let's really enter into, trying to launch a business. So we took out a loan. We, I think I sold my first house that I had to get capital, and we launched a preschool.
Hmm.
So we launched a preschool. Then the year after that, we had another opportunity. We launched another one, and then that was when COVID hit. So then we ended up having another family that was interested in purchasing it. So we sold that to them. Now we're in the process. We've now are on our third school, and we're about to do another. We're doing one more, so our third school, and then our fourth one. We're about to do a full, like, actual brick and mortar build right now. That's going to be launching. So again, all these things, just like all these things, you build up to it. You know what I mean? It's not like it just happens, but at the same time, I do think you have to have. I just go back. This is for your listeners and for the pod, I guess, is like, you know, of identifying the gifts God has put in your heart and the gifts God has given you.
Yeah.
Um, I think the biggest thing is to conquer is, at least for me, is probably was the insecurities and the opinions of others. Um, I think that it's always was a really big one, and obviously, you want to take counsel to those that are close to you, and there's mentors in your life. But I kind of got down to it. It's like, man, past my 5, 10 people, 15 people that are around me, my circle, I was like, people that are texting me and checking up on me, and I was like, man, people are too busy to care about me. They don't care. I was like, they're too busy, man. You know what I mean? They're too busy. I was like, they might have an opinion about me or a comment about me, but I was like, dude, they got their own lives. They got their own issues going on. They don't. So you get down, and it's like, many times fear is one of the things that holds us back to stepping into our purpose and to stepping into the things that God wants us to pursue. And I'm just such an advocate for just saying, dude, go for it,
Yeah.
do it. You're not too young. You have the resources. We're in one of the most, you know, uh, just in life with technology, with the resources that we have. We're in one of the best seasons of the world to be living in, for you not to pursue what God's put in your heart.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? It's almost a waste. It
Yeah.
really is. It's like, there is room for your talent. Like, if I could say that to anybody, like, there's room for your talent. There's room for, for you to launch that business. There's room for you to go and start that passion that you've always wanted to start and go after it. You know, you know, some people have, everyone has different routes. Some people really like just jump into it, having, you know, I would just say like, they're saying I'm going to go launch a business, and they just jump into it, and that's awesome. Some people, for me, I'm more of a builder. You know what I mean? I
Hmm.
kind of like to make sure I have some security behind me. So, I kind of built up to those things.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, oh, John. To a lot of people, John, they're like, oh, John's moving to New York, no job, nothing, just going up there. Yes, but I as well had several, we have several businesses generating passive income. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
We have multiple properties that we now are invested in that are generating passive income. So it's not like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
John, it's not like I just jumped out and I'm like, now I'm pursuing this career and that's really not making me any money.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
the struggling artist career.
But
No,
but
no,
I
no,
think
no, no.
that comes to your point of sometimes there's risk involved to lifting the lid in your life where you're stretching yourself. And I feel like a lot of people sometimes they get to a place where they get to a place of comfortability and not realizing that they have some that God has placed some more desires in them, but they just don't know how to walk in them, if that makes sense. They don't know how to walk in them, and so because of the the lifting the lid of your giftings or where you're at can be a little scary, like you said. There's fear, there's some insecurities, there's some different things of emotions that could come with trying new things or experimenting on different passions or different giftings or different desires that you have. So what would you say to somebody that wants to stretch themselves in that kind of way, but they, like you said, they have this fear, they have this insecurity, they have this doubt maybe that if they try, they might fail. Um, what would you say to somebody that's trying to walk into that, but they're a little nervous to do?
Yeah, I think one of my biggest fears is becoming complacent.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to speak for anyone else's life, but yeah, just becoming complacent. Um, you know, I, I think just a lot of a lot of pieces to life just comes down to a piece of disciplining ourselves, discipline, defining the goal, and going after the goal, and honestly, I think my biggest, and many times we're looking around and we're looking at social media, or we're watching people around us, and we think they're our competitors or they're against me, and really the the biggest enemy is yourself, your laziness. Your biggest enemy is you not being able to have you know you not being able to discipline yourself. That's the biggest things that I have
Mm-hmm.
personally, is like me, the biggest things that, and then as well, but then as well too is like I think we got to give ourselves a lot more grace than we do. The other side is like, you're down on yourself so much that I'm not I'm not accomplishing what I should be accomplishing. I'm not where I should be. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not where other friends are, and that's another mentality that I say you just gotta be aware of. But
Yeah.
and the idea is just, man, it's waking up and saying, man, I can't be complacent today. It's getting some serious discipline in your life. That is not just goal oriented or success oriented. It's like, no, it's your spiritual life, it's your mental life, it's your physical life, and then it's your work life, the things that you're pursuing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And as well, like your artistic life. So
That's good. That's
y-
really good.
yeah, I think I would say that one of the biggest things is just being aware of being complacent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just realizing that, you know, uh, I think more people are for you than you think you are. That, like, when you really start asking, and you start going after the things that you feel God has put in your heart, I think you're going to realize more people are for you than are against you. Um, and as well, it's just, and if you're in a circle where you feel everyone's against you, then you need to get out of that circle. uh, you need to get out of that circle quick. Um, you know, because just if you just feel like God has put too much on each person's life to accomplish, and too much, um, like I mean, there's so much gifts that He's given each and every one of us that I just feel like it'd be such a shame for us to limit ourselves
Hmm.
on what God has put in our hearts to do, and what He wants us to accomplish while we're here
Yeah,
on Earth.
that's good.
So, yeah.
That's really good. Well, John, man, thanks for joining the Journey podcast. Before you leave, I know you're a comedian, so give us like one funny story, maybe in your life, maybe about me, since this is the podcast. Give me one funny story for our listeners today. Jonathan, do it.
Oh yes,
Oh,
this is
yes.
great.
Oh, no.
This is great. Yeah. Man, there's so many stories about Andrew, my brother.
Oh, gosh.
Uh, there was this one time when we used to have this game when Andrew was young.
Oh, no.
I'm not even sure if I should tell that one.
Yeah, because
Probably
it's gonna
not.
make you look pretty bad as a.
I mean, yeah, there was time. I did a lot. I did a lot with you guys. It was try and error. Um, you know, dude, I remember one time. Remember when was it you and I hung you from a tree? I got your legs. I wrapped them around a tree, and
I
then
don't think that was me, man. I don't
was that
remember that.
Chris? Oh, okay.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
tell
I
the
get.
story though.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, man. Okay, I'll tell you this one story. This will be good because a lot of your people are at Christian Life Center. Um, that listen to this podcast, I think. But there was one story that we were. It was I just joined. I just joined being. I just joined staff right out of college, and I was on staff as a youth pastor at the church. I think I was middle school pastor. Actually, I don't even think of that. I was like an intern. I was like something like that. Um, and they were looking for a new kids pastor at the time.
Oh, this is
This
funny.
was years ago, years ago. And so I had two friends of mine that were college buddies. They're coming into town to visit me, and one his name's Dober. He sells apparel all up and down the states, but he has dreads. Both of these guys are hilarious, and my other buddy Dave. And so they come in, and I was telling them, yeah, man, I was trying to get them on staff. I was like, you guys should try to, come in and, put your application in. You guys would be great with like youth or kids. I'm like, they're actually looking for a kids pastor. So this is like 30 minutes before they arrive. They show up to the church, and they come to the front, and they say, oh, hey, we're here. We are the new kids pastors. And they had the front desk person. She's like, oh, he's like, yeah. Can you show us our office, please? And she's like, oh, yes, I can show you the office. So she's taking them through. She does a full tour throughout the church. I mean, in the full tour. I mean, there's two buildings. It's a 30-40 minute tour. So I'm sitting here. I'm trying to I'm like, where are these guys? So I'm calling them, and I'm like, dude, where are you? He said, I'm sitting in my new office. And I'm like, what? And it was like, yeah, I'm sitting in my new office. I'm in the kids pastor room. I walk into the kids pastor's office in the suite area. This guy has his feet up on the table and is sitting there like, hey, intern, go get me some coffee. You know what I mean? I'm just like, it's not funny.
It's
People that know Dober and Dave. That actually happened. Antonide at church was the one that toward
toward
them.
them. So this guy with dreads shows up and just says, I'm the new
Yeah.
kids pastor. And he's walking around. Everybody's probably like, who is this guy?
Apparently, that's all you got to do to get a job at church. Okay, you just got to. I'm joking. I'm messing around.
If you find
Come
out
in,
if there's an open job.
open job, open position. You know what I mean? I am the new assistant pastor. Thank you. They're like, what? Who are you? You know what I mean?
Oh, that's funny.
Just gonna walk in. I'm just gonna walk in. You know what I mean? Surprisingly, my buddies it worked, but
It
no, but
didn't
it was,
work.
yeah.
Well, it's safe to say they didn't become the kids pastors.
Yeah, I think they got kicked out. Security came and kicked them out. Had to bring security to let them know. No, it's okay. They're all right. They're all right.
That's funny.
No, but no, I appreciate you having me on the podcast. To all the listeners out there, tag me. Give me a like.
What is your Instagram? Manning Comedy?
Manning Comedy.
Yeah.
Manning
Follow
Comedy.
him on Instagram. Follow his journey of being in New York. But John, thanks, man. Appreciate you being on the Journey podcast this week. We love you, man. Thanks for giving us, our listeners, some good advice on lifting the lid in their life and stretching themselves. Some really good stuff, man. Thank you.
All right. Love you guys.
All right. Well, thank you guys again for joining the Journey podcast, and we'll see you next week.